with other people. So I think it's recording, and just let me also put it in my screen to record. There you go. So I hope I'm doing it right. I will make it big, so it's the only thing I see in my screen. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Now I don't hear you.
Oh.
No, now I hear you. Perfect. I hear you. Fantastic. Okay. So if you allowed me, I can start to tell you why I'm contacting you and why for me it was so important to get in touch with you.
Well, yes, I was going to ask you how you came across me and what led you to give me a call. So tell.
Okay, so I will try not to make it too long, but actually when I was pregnant, first I was living in Singapore, and I think in Singapore I will have a very medicalized birth. So I said that life took me back to my home country, which is Mexico. And when we arrived to Mexico, we started looking for options. And my first option, of course, was in a hospital, but with a doctor that do this so-called humanized birth. And when we were talking to her, my husband started saying, no, but I don't want doctors to start coming in and out, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So the doctor said, like, yeah, sorry, but in the hospitals, this is not possible. So maybe you are candidates for home birth. And I was so impressed, like, no, home birth? Wait, this is the only home birth I have seen, and I wrote you. It was a video from Chiapas, from the people that live in these indigenous cultures. And, in Mexico, it's not a common thing. And my husband looks to me and say, yeah, I was born at home. And I was like, what? Because he's from Holland. He's Dutch. And I don't know if you know, but in Holland, by system, the medical system is that, well, it's changing a bit, but most women give birth at home. And just when you have a risky pregnancy, or when there's a risk, you go to the hospital. So I was impressed to see, the difference in cultures. For Dutch people, going to the hospital was risky, and for Mexican people, having a birth at home is just dangerous. And so that's why I said that at the end, life took me there. So we went to see a doctor. She is an obstetrician in Mexico, but that also has a midwife practice. And that's when she had her first when she was pregnant for the first time, she decided to go to a home birth. And when she gave birth at home and naturally, then she changed her whole practice. So, but anyway, I think I was not, I didn't prepare that much, because I was moving from Singapore to Mexico, and I was having a very challenged job and everything. And this new doctor that agreed to do it at home, and then we see her, we had a very good connection. She sent me an email, and she said, I sent you a very nice text that is attached. I said, okay, fine. And really 3 days before giving birth, I said, oh, she sent me something that I didn't look at it. So I opened the email, and there was just an attachment of a text. And I started reading the test, and and it was called, of course, the holistic stage of birth. And wow, I was reading and I never understood that birth was that. It was the first time I was reading something so beautiful, and how well explained how this woman embarks into a journey. So then, until that moment, I realized I was gonna enter into a journey and a transformation journey, and a beautiful thing. So I was so lucky to read this just 3 days before giving birth, because it really completely changed my vision of birth. I really had no idea. I just knew, they just prepare me like, you have to breathe. When the contraction comes, you breathe. And these very superficial things. And I also had, arriving to Mexico very, very late, I started to do prenatal yoga kundalini. So it also helped me a lot to connect with myself and with my body, and with the nervous system, and with this, in a way, controlling and managing pain through my body. So yeah, at the end, I went into my birth without really knowing what will happen, and without really expecting anything, and just having in my mind these words that you said. I couldn't even remember everything, and luckily I was not in my rational mind, but I just felt that your text really enter deep in me, and make a connection. And then I just let myself go, and I had an experience, wow, above my expectations. I never thought birth could be so beautiful, so pleasurable, and so transforming, to the point that it has transformed my whole life. And now I'm even changing my mission, my vision, everything. Yeah. So
well,
that's
that's a
the story.
lovely and amazing story. And I'm very glad that happened to you. And I'm very glad we're sitting here because of that. Yes. So great.
And then I have to tell you another story about your text.
Oh, okay.
Because well, I, every time I knew someone was pregnant, I would send the link to your website, say you have to read this. But then I read it again and I say, wow, that was exactly what happened to me. Then I had my second child, and it was also a fantastic experience. But last week, when I was even thinking about this interview, and I said, yeah, maybe it will be nice that I show my birth, and then I put you to explain the holistic stage of birth. And I didn't know exactly what to do. But then suddenly I just got the inspiration, and I took all the videos. I have short videos of my birth, and I put them all together. And then I read in Spanish all your text, but it was not connected with my video. I was just reading. I used to start it and start reading it on a voice off. And then I put the video and the text together, my description, or reading your text, and it's unbelievable beautiful. It just matches perfectly. It's I haven't used it. It's in Spanish, but I would love you to see it. I think because you wrote that text, even if it's in Spanish, you will perfectly understand, because it was just magic. That I didn't edit my videos. I just put it all together. And as you are talking about the stages and the woman, and even exactly in the moment that my baby is, I'm in the expulsion, my husband is in front of me like my archangel, just protecting me, watching. And then I took my baby with my hands, and I'm not pushing. I'm having like an ecstasy moment, and then the baby just go out the first the head, and it stays there, and then I panic, and I look at my midwife, and she said, don't worry, he will come in the next contraction, and you will be able to take him. And then in the next contraction I receive it. And I said, I do that, and you're saying that a woman doesn't need anybody to take her baby. She can do it with her hands. So the video is like that. It's just so amazing. Wow, that's why I think you have really a connection with the divine, because, well, you have seen women giving birth so many times, but it really has a way, a beautiful way of being this journey that it's applies for any, I think, for most of the women that are not being disturbed and are really being in a completely instinctual way. So yeah, I just think you have put it in a fantastic way, and I'm very happy you put it out there in the world with so precisely beautiful and diverse.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really great. I think that's amazing that that your your story and the story of birth line up together. You know, I do. I get a lot of people who call me and or email me after their birth, and they say that was it.
Yeah.
It actually happened like that, and I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad that people can experience that. Yeah, and you know what you said was the key is being undisturbed. Okay,
Mm.
not having no one disturb you, and your instinctual responses to your birth is what allows it to just go in this very primal and instinctual flow and ebb and flow and ebb, that really it just, honestly, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree. That's why I have seen the doctors that change their vision. It's only in the moment they really are just there contemplating or just admiring a woman giving birth, and then it transforms also the way of seeing labor. That's why first I was like, no, how come I will film my birth? In the first birth, I didn't notice my doula was filming because she did it so discreet. And in the second one, I said, yeah, I will see if I feel like. And also my midwife did it in a very discreet way. I was not aware of the camera. But now that I have the videos where you don't even see the midwives. They were not in the room. I was left alone, and then I was with my husband, and they just came at the last moment, and they just talked 3 words that give me all the security and the courage I needed, and that's it. That's the only thing they did in the whole birth experience. So I have them. I have it in video, and I put it with your text, and it's a way to, yeah, that they can see. But so now I will stop talking about me.
Well, that was great.
Because you are the guest. And well, first I would like to know, well, who you are, what you do, and how come you decided to become I would say not only a matrona, but really a holistic matrona.
Yes. Okay. Well, I had my children later on in life. I was 35 when I had my first.
Mm.
And I was living in a part of the United States in the South where it's not very progressive, and it's very much more non-resourced than some of the other areas of our country. And there were no midwives there. In fact, this was back in the early 80s, and midwifery was sort of like, well, what does that mean? And midwives were not really part of the culture at that time. Okay, they were part of the history of the right, but not part of the culture. So I had always wanted to have my babies at home. I had always thought that um, going to a hospital would be, I don't know, it would be anticlimactic. And what I thought about in going to a hospital was this. This is why I really didn't want to go to a hospital. I couldn't imagine that a mother would be pregnant and then gestate that baby for all those months and then go and give birth to that baby, and that she would just let someone cut the cord and take her baby away.
Mm.
But how does a human being allow that? I, I am, no one is ever gonna, you know, if I have a baby, I will be the mother of this baby. I will hold this baby. I will say who touches my baby, and not someone whisking my baby away and then bringing my baby back to me. All right.
Mm.
As if to say, this isn't really your baby. We have control over you. All right. So when I was young and kind of, rebellious, I'm not going to a hospital. I will have my baby at home. All right. And anyone who tries to take my baby will see my wrath. Okay. And I don't know, 12 years later, when I'm actually pregnant and, it doesn't seem like there's any options in the place that I'm living to have your baby at home. And my partner, my husband and I, were not ready to go it alone. Okay. I have much respect for the families that today just go it alone, all right, with no, we call it free birthing or being unassisted. I wasn't ready to do that. And then one day I was working, and I had a job at a camera store. And this man came in to pick up his baby pictures. And he was showing me his pictures. And then he said, our baby was born at home. And then it was like, what? And the angels are now singing and glorious moments. I said, how did you do that? How did you have your baby at home? So he told me about a midwife and that she lived about an hour and a half away, but she would come to the city I lived in, and he gave me her number. So this was back in 1981. I was 35 years old. I went home. I told my husband we could have our baby at home. He was totally on the page. I called my mother. I said, I think I'm going to have my baby at home. And she was like, oh, that's wonderful. She said, people die in hospitals. You don't want to go there. And I was like, right. Why do people have babies in places where people die? But anyway, so what happened was I called the midwife. I was so excited. And she seemed a little distant. And I thought, well, this isn't what I expected. I expected her to welcome me into pregnancy. And so that at that time, I realized that there was a political aspect to being a midwife. In other words, she was not like licensed. So she had to really make sure that I was who I say I was. This is really fascinating to me. All right. But that's how it is in the US, you know, with the licensing and all of that. And so she asked me to write her a letter and tell her why I wanted to have my baby at home. And I was like, okay. So I did. I wrote her the letter. I told her I felt like my baby was perfect for me and that I thought I would have a wonderful birth and I couldn't wait. And I hoped she wanted to be with me. So she called me right back after she got the letter, and so we made an appointment. Well, between the time that I had that second phone call with her and when she arrived at my house about 5 days later, I knew I was going to be a midwife. I just knew. There were no angels singing at this time. I just knew. It was very quiet. It was very certain. It was very soft. It was very knowing. I wasn't thinking I was going to be a midwife. I wasn't feeling like I might be a midwife. I knew. I just knew I was going to be. And I knew I was going to ask the midwife who assisted me if I could apprentice with her. And I picked my time. I didn't just blurt it out. I'm going to be a midwife. I'm coming. Because I knew what she would have said. She would have said, oh, everybody who has their baby at home, they just fall in love with midwifery and birth. She said, I knew she would say, you need to be a mother. Come back and check in with me in 2 years. Like, nope, that's not what's going to happen. I am going to become a mother and a midwife at the same time. Bring it, okay? I am 35. I can do anything. So at one point during the pregnancy, I decided I would tell her, but I needed my sign. You know, I needed a sign that I would be sure she would hear me. So one day, close to my due date, I asked her I said, I want to tell you something. And I really, I want you to hear me. And she said, okay. And so we went and we sat down on my bed. And I said, I really, really care about you. I love you. And I love my partner. And, I don't know how I'm going to be in labor. maybe, this is my first time, and I don't know if I'll be irritable with pain or ungrateful for the things you're doing for me, or rude even. I said, so I want to apologize beforehand, okay, in case I am less than grateful during my labor. Because I love you, I care about you, I respect you so much. And if I'm rude to you, I want to apologize beforehand. So she looked at me and she said, oh, you'll be fine. But then she said, and I hear you, and I accept your apology. So what she did for me was amazing. She liberated me, because she liberated me to be myself during my labor, to just do whatever I needed to get my baby born, to be my instinctual self, even if it wasn't so grateful, even if it was irritable, even if, no matter how it came out. And when I realized that her listening to me, she listened and she heard me. I mean, if she had just said, oh, you'll be fine, I would have said, no, wait, you haven't heard me. But when she said, I accept your apology, I was free. So I said, okay, she can hear me. And I can talk to her. I can tell her that I would like to apprentice with her, that I'm coming. And so about 2 weeks later, I did. I asked her if I could apprentice with her. And she said, oh, sure, you'll be a great midwife.
Oh,
That's how I came into
great.
midwifery.
Wow. Yeah, I heard this before, that because I also asked someone before, and they say, yeah, why you decided to be? And they said that you don't decide, that you just get the call. And I know for a lot of people, and of course, if you talk to a doctor, they will just think you're nuts, when you say, I just had a call, because I feel a lot of doctors, they really decide that they want to study medicine for the blah, 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 and they are more in the outside and in the society and what a doctor means, than in this connecting with yourself and saying, I just have this call.
Yeah, when it's a call, the way you're talking about it, it's not a career option. You see
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And it still is for some people, even for some midwives. But when you feel deeply connected, all right, and deeply called to this, you realize that it is a vocation. It's a calling, not a career choice. Yeah.
Oh, well, beautiful. And how was your birth experience?
Oh, it was wonderful. All right. I I just went into what I consider an altered state. All right. Because there was no one bothering me and there was no one really observing me. My midwife felt very comfortable with me, and I think we trusted each other. All
Mm,
right.
mm,
I knew that if it was important, she would, but that she wouldn't bother me. And she knew that if I was feeling something, I would share that with her. So there was a trust there, and an investment. I felt that I could say, I care about you so much. You're so good to me. You nurture me. You've come to see me. All these visits in pregnancy, you are invested in me.
mm,
And I feel like that is one of the things that's missing in a woman's birth
mm,
today.
mm, mm,
That the caregiver might be a wonderful person. I'm not saying they're not, but they're not invested in you more than anyone. They don't have your best interests at heart the whole time.
mm.
And I knew my midwife did. And that gave me a sense of peace and security. And it was honestly, I mean, there was pain in labor, but it was never the focus. It was never the biggest deal. It was always overshadowed by the fact that I am with people, my partner and my midwife, who are invested in me. What could be better? How could it be better to give birth? So I had a wonderful birth. I did.
That's
And I'm very
beautiful.
grateful. And that was my daughter. She's my firstborn. And then I went ahead and did it again 10 years later. And I also have a son.
In which year was it?
I had my daughter in 81, and then 2.5 years later, I had my son in 1984.
Wow. It's almost the same as my brother and me. my brother was born in 81 with a traumatic cesarean for my mom. She still has a terrible scar from the nipple to from the what do you say? I forgot. all the they used to be like this is cesarean, and she suffered so much after that, and she fell into postpartum depression, and she didn't even know until now. She's getting to know that because nobody told her and nobody cared about it, and I think it was something almost like a taboo. And then I was born in 83, and luckily I was born vaginally, but not naturally. Because they took me out with forceps, and also was not as traumatic as the first one, but was also not a beautiful birth. So I understand when you say, I think the 80s was a very, the age where most of the births were just medicalized, and there was a procedure, and women were just next, and this is the way, no pain, no, and didn't really realize what the real pain is. As you said, the pain of the contractions of the labor, it's for me was a beautiful pain. I wouldn't describe it really as something that really hurt, but I think the pain after, when you have medicalized birth, that is really, really painful. And as you say, the separation of your kid, or just having a kid in your arms and not even recognizing him as a baby, and feeling, a lot of women say, like, when they go out of the hospital, they feel like they give the baby and say, like, now it's your turn, and they don't know what to do. And I feel that is so sad, because when you give birth by your instinctual wisdom, I was impressed. I hold my baby and I knew what to do. I didn't need anybody to tell me what to do. So
that's the difference, very much. And that's the difference in I don't know, in the way our civilization is going. Okay, breaking the bonds. I think we're seeing so many mothers now having postpartum depression and not knowing what to do, and being anxious with their babies. Depression comes later, but this initial anxiety of what do I do with my baby, because I think sometimes women are grieving the fact that they missed something during the birth. I think they realize, I didn't get it. Something bigger should have happened to me. Something should have wired up in my head, or I should feel differently. I should feel like I went through pregnancy and birth, and now I have this knowing that I can just be a mother. And it's knowing that's missing. Don't you think?
Actually, you explain it so perfectly in your text, because you said that in this stage of the silent, sorry, I just did your text in Spanish, so I'm thinking in Spanish. So the quiet period, say that you go all the mountain and then you stay there and you get the information. Yeah. When I read that, I found it so amazing. Fantastic. But when I was reading your text, it was like so beautiful that it was almost not like unbelievable, like I think I'm a very spiritual person, but I couldn't understand it, if I'm very honest. your text looks like a poetry. You know, when you read it for the first time, it's like you don't know if you're reading poetry or something real. But then, well, I gave birth, and I was really in my trip, so I didn't thought about it. And when I read it again, I realized, I said, yes, of course I had all that information, because I was not in contact with babies before. I was working in Asia in a very men ambience, so I never saw a woman breastfeeding their babies. I saw it once, you know. I was really disconnected, and suddenly that I could just breastfeed my kids, and for example, for me, it was no way that I could even let him sleep in another bed, not even in another room, but in another bed. I needed to have him next to me. And well, I have to admit, now I have two kids. The first one is 5 years and a half, and the second one is 2 years and 3 months, and I still breastfeed both. One really, the second one, the one of 5 years, it's just a little moment, and he comes and he needs it, and I don't care what people say. What it's my instinct said, this is fine. I need this connection of 2 minutes at night. He comes, he just sucks a little bit my nipple, and then he sleeps so peacefully and peacefully, and me too. But I didn't read it. It was something that just, yeah, download to me, as you said. So it's so that's why, and this is my question, because how you work with women, because I think we are so disconnected of all this knowledge, and all this sacred wisdom, and how you deal in this world that we are more into, even, you know, the ultrasounds, the measurements, the times, the yeah, the disconnection of our bodies, and our connection with the divine. How you deal with that with women, how you prepare them to be able to go to the holistic way if they have no connection with this before.
Yeah. Well, you know, I teach doulas and midwives, and many of them come back to me and say something very similar. Why don't the women listen? Why I'm telling women that you could have this, and you could have a birth that is like this rather than interrupted. And she said, and many of them say they don't want to hear me. And what I say is this, you know, a field of flowers, it doesn't all bloom, they don't all bloom at the same time, right?
Mm.
A couple bloom, and then some more, and then some more, and more, and more, and more. They don't all bloom at the same time. So you can't expect every woman and every family to want what you want for them. You see, it's a matter of, we have to come to this on our own terms.
Mm.
So what I say to doulas and midwives is just do your work. Just continue on. It's okay if not everybody wants to hear what you have to say. Find the people that do want to hear what you have to say, because more, you see, here's a change that I've noticed over the years. Even back in the 80s, all right, and before, birth was thought of as this ordeal to get through. You know, there was going to be pain. There was going to be intolerable pain. There was going to be misery. You will want pain relief, okay? You will want someone else to hold your baby after the birth. You will be exhausted. And you know, that was a very prevailing opinion. Everyone was like, yeah, how am I going to handle the pain? What am I going to do for the pain? I know, I'll get a doula, all right? Now, here's the change. More and more women realize that that's not the point of birth, to have pain. The point is to transform.
I love
And
it.
more women are showing up for that transformation. They're showing up. There's more and more every year. Uh, women are like, the pain, okay, whatever. I want my transformation. I want to get it. And that's just happening of its own accord because the season is here. You know, you can't make a rose bloom in the winter. You have to wait for the right season, right?
Mm.
So it's here. It's coming. It's early spring, okay, in the world of birth. But it's coming.
Oh,
More and more women are wanting not pain relief, but I want my transformation. I don't want anything to interfere with my transformation. And you know, you had a wonderful midwife, right?
yes.
He witnessed you. She did not
Yeah.
feel that she needed to manage you and orchestrate your labor and birth. This is where women are looking for now.
Mm.
Caregivers, whether you're a doctor or a midwife or a doula, but a caregiver who can witness me and not manage me,
Mm.
who can stand back and let my instincts unfold. So it's coming. Yes, and not everybody is on that vibration right now. Not everybody feels that way. But that's okay.
Ah, you said it so beautiful. And as you say, yeah, I also feel it's a moment that, yeah, it's coming more. I don't know if also the internet has this power of giving more information. I really don't know. But for example, I will never thought I will have this goal of. I now still don't know if I really want to be a midwife. It's not the goal I'm having now. But what I want to do is it's inspire. Is this? I think it's so sad that we think about labor and pain. I remember when I was pregnant, people will come to me and say, "And you're not afraid?" And I was afraid of what? Yeah, of your labor. I was like, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about my baby, the the beautiful things. Why I will have to think about pain if there's much more? It's just a wrong focus.
It is because even though I would never say, oh, there's no pain,
Mm.
I also realize is that when you are in your own element and in your own power, you know how to deal with pain. You know how to make it secondary and not your primary focus. You're given that gift during the labor. You see? And I think women don't realize that labor has its gifts as well, that it's these gifts of knowing things, knowing, like in the quietude you were talking about,
Yeah, the quietude. Yeah,
when it's all downloaded,
that's the
you
word.
just know things. And it's not thinking and it's not feeling, it's knowing. It
Yeah,
comes from the soul, not the mind, you see?
yeah.
And you know, if you haven't had that experience, it's hard to explain it to someone else.
Mm.
But in labor, you'll know how to deal with the pain. You'll know how to move your body. You'll
Mm.
know when to get up, when to go to the bathroom, when to have something to drink. You'll know how to push, when to push, how much to push, how to birth a baby. See? And it's hard
That's
to tell people that because we, in our well-meaning caregiving, okay, feel like we should manage
mm.
women, okay, so they won't have to know that. But it's taking a lot away. It really
And because, as you said, nobody talks about this, as you say, as just empowering women, saying you will know. They all, for example, when now that I'm entering more in this world, they all start asking me, no, but what happened if you get to the 42 weeks and then you have to be induced, or if your water breaks and then you pass this 12 in some places or 24 hours in other places, they start thinking about all this that can go wrong, and then they say no, then you need the hospital and you need the intervention. So for example, in your practice, how you approach all these interventions, and if they are, and do you think they are really needed?
Well, I'll tell you. In my practice, I worked with what I would consider normal, healthy women.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't work with high-risk women who had diabetes or heart problems or things like that. And so in working with normal, healthy people, and by the way, normal, healthy people, they get sick, right? But they get better. They get depressed, but then they get over it. I mean, that's part of being normal.
Mm.
So I feel like I feel like a lot of clinical care is wasted because those women don't need this.
Mm.
In fact, I feel like most women who are, not clearly high risk would much rather have an hour walking in the park with their caregiver, with their midwife, than doing a test for an hour. You see?
Totally agree.
I,
Totally agree.
I feel like the more
Making love with their husbands instead of being
someone listen to your baby from the outside. You see? I mean, yes, that's what I mean when I say all of this care is wasted. It could be put to better. The time you spend with your caregiver could be put to much better use. Okay, testing and listening and poking and all of that. Why not go out to lunch? Why not have a walk in the park? Why not just sit and talk? Why not go swimming? Okay, so I honestly think that the hallmark of the care that I gave to women was all about nurturing. I am a good nurturer. I will take care of you. I will love you. I will be invested in you. I will bring you what you need, not what I think you need, but what you need, because I'll take the time to find out. I feel like when that's the level that you give care on with a woman, she's happy, she's nurtured, she feels powerful, she's inspired to be pregnant, and I don't see complications. And honestly, it is as simple as that. In all of my 20 years of practice, and also teaching and going to births, I have seen very few complications. And it's not because I'm a skillful midwife. It's because I'm a nurturing midwife.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like if we want to see fewer complications, then I think we need to have more honest investment in people, and more trust in women, and more and maybe less ego, that we are going to save you or fix your birth or make sure you're, save your life or anything like that. I mean, I never saw the women that I worked with as problematic. I never expected a problem. And therefore, any complications that happened were really theirs, not mine. You see what I mean? I didn't bring them. I feel like caregivers today bring their own set of complications to people's births. Okay? Their expectations, or their judgment that, oh, she's never going to make it, or, oh, she's going to have a C-section, or, oh, the pain will be too much for her. I never, we don't need to do that to women. We really don't. I honestly think that quantum physics is the guiding principle here. Quantum physics tells us that if you observe someone and have a certain expectation, you may very well create that expectation in your observance of them. See?
Wow.
We just have to let go of the fear, let go of the specter of complications, and just be present. Just show up, be present.
I hear you.
You will watch women give birth. You'll be like, wow. I am so impressed at what the body can do. I am so impressed that the mechanism for birth is actually unbelievably amazing and safe
Yes.
when we don't interfere.
You put it into a word, a so easy word, just be present. And I think that is our big thing of our society. We are never present. We are living here, there, in the future, in the everywhere, but never here. And I think that's the biggest issue for women giving birth. They are even worried about the doctor, about themselves, about if the baby, if the complication, and they are not feeling themselves. It's and when you say the approach, I also remember, for example, in Singapore, when I went to my doctor to find out if I was pregnant. My meeting was at 10, and at 10:07 I was already outside the doctor's office. She told me she checked me. My husband was on his way. He didn't arrive on time, and she said, "Oh, congratulations, you're pregnant. See you next week." I was like shocked. There was no pampering, no nothing, no, she didn't even wait for my husband to be there to tell me that notice. I felt so bad, and I really started crying, and I felt like she didn't even care. Like I'm one more of the patient that is pregnant next. Yeah. And I remember when I went to this woman in Mexico that it's a midwife, she first connected with me. She didn't even immediately sit me down and start checking me. And no, she first, because, okay, I was also 34 weeks pregnant. So she told me I will never take a woman of 34 weeks pregnant into a home birth. But she first connected with me, and she said, I want first to go to your house, to get to know you, to, as you said, invest time on you, to feel you. And then I will tell you if we can give birth, if I'm willing to do this with you, because you need to trust me, because I will be there in your most intimate moment. So we were there for an hour. We could talk. We could ask all our questions, all our doubts. My husband is a Dutch. He was asking all these statistics and all these things, and she was just there, not being nervous, not trying to hide. She was giving the statistics and connecting. And then in Belgium, it happened the same. My first kid was born in Mexico, and in Belgium, I had to go to a hospital for an ultrasound. So I said, okay, I will go and check the hospital and then the midwives. And wow, in the hospital, the same. I got this experience, and I went to a hospital that the only time I've been there was when a relative of my husband died. So for me, just entering that place, that was already horrible. And then I felt all this cold, and she was checking my baby, measuring the baby, more thinking on the risk. Oh no, this measurement, I think it's 1 millimeter more, so maybe I have to do a scan again because I don't like it, and and this in the fear. And then I went with the midwives, and again they don't even put an ultrasound, they touch you. I feel that is so beautiful. Also, when I was giving birth, my midwife, she never touched me. She just felt me. I was like, how long do you think? And she, no, you're not yet ready. And I was like, how can she know? And it's true. I think you as a midwife, you even smell it. It's impressive. And as you said in your text, people are losing this connection of, we have so much modern things and monitors, and that we completely lost the connection of feelings. So I love that with the midwife. Same, I was 1 hour there. She was more into feeling me, into feeling my baby, into connecting, and then we could decide if we wanted to work together. But it's not about I choose a doctor, or in some places they just give you the doctor that is in turn. But the midwife, you really need to have this confidence.
Yes.
And I think that is missing so much.
Well, a lot of women do think that, okay? And I feel that, I don't think it's going to be the caregiver that changes birth.
Mm.
It's not going to be the doctor, and it might not be the midwife either. It's going to be the parents. It's going to be the mothers who insist, okay, on not being interfered with, or insist on a caregiver witnessing them rather than managing them. And it's coming. It
Yeah.
truly is. I believe it. I believe more and more women um, in this country are stepping away from the hospitals.
Yeah, to the point that they went on assisted births. My God, they prefer to be on assisted than having someone managing them.
No, and that particular approach is it's blowing up here.
Yeah.
Many,
Wow.
many women are taking it back, taking birth back. And
Yeah.
some of them don't want anyone there in the house at all. Some of them want, maybe a doula or a midwife, but they're completely in the shadows, if
Mm.
unless I call you. It's happening. It really is. Okay, but you are going to see that the last place it happens is hospitals.
Yeah, that was my question that I wanted to ask you. That if you think that, because I always say to women that they have to do whatever that um, to avoid fears. So if forget them giving birth at home gives them fear, then they should avoid it. I didn't went to the hospital because for me it was terrifying, the hospital, and I imagine my husband also kicking all the doctors in Mexico, and so I said I don't want to be there. But do you think that a woman can still have holistic birth in hospitals?
Yes, actually, I do. Um, you'll have to ask for it. Hopefully, you won't have to fight for it. Okay. But you will have to tell your doctor that this is what you want. And the word that we're using now is physiologic. All right. We used to say a natural birth, I want a natural birth. But nobody really knows what that means, right?
Yeah,
What does a
totally agree.
natural birth mean? Is that, birth without your makeup, or is it? So we have changed the word to be very specific. And we now ask for, if you're going into a hospital, a physiologic birth, meaning that your birth will unfold according to your own personal physiology. And you'll not want a lot of the things that are offered in the hospital. You don't want vaginal exams. Why? Because it doesn't matter. My birth will happen when my physical body is ready. You don't want your membranes ruptured. No, you don't want someone to tell you when to push. You don't want someone to cut the cord. You don't want someone to cut your bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you know enough to ask for a physiologic birth, basically what you're asking for is a hospital undisturbed birth, as much as you can get. You see, I mean, you can't lock the door and not let anybody in, but you can ask people not to be in the room right now. You can ask people if they could send you a nurse that was more in line with what you wanted. Women are beginning to speak up now, because we have such the thing as informed consent. You have to consent to these things, so you can say no. You can say no, and every doctor has to respect that. Every caregiver has to respect it, because that's the legality of it. You have a right to advocate for yourself. Now, this is another thing that happens, is that sometimes in labor, a woman is somewhat vulnerable to that ambiance, okay? And she just wants to be in her bubble
Mm.
and doesn't want to advocate for herself. She doesn't want to have to fight for what she wants. But if she has a partner or a husband or the dad, they can advocate for her, just like your husband wants to do for you.
Mm.
That is so healing when your husband sticks up for you. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to say, no, no, no. Your husband is like, I don't think you want that. Thank you, though. You see? This is amazing. It's also very hot, okay? When your husband sticks up for you and you look at your husband like, oh, this could save a marriage. You know?
my,
So
my,
that,
hu-
go ahead. I want to hear.
my husband said that if he sees a scissor in the room, he will cut the same thing as they cut to me. So of course I changed 4 times doctors, 2 in Singapore and 2 in Mexico, because that was, he was saying, if I see, I will cut you the same thing that you cut to my wife. So imagine what the doctor said, like, okay, this guy, please away. And we went to the only doctor that said fine. So it was very funny because when my baby was born, we had a pediatrician also, and I didn't know. I didn't ask because the obstetrician was used to do births at home. But this pediatrician was the first time she was coming to a home birth. They used to work together, so I assumed they worked together already at home. So when the umbilical cordon, when we had to cut it, the doctor asked to the pediatrician, yeah, you have the scissors? No, I didn't bring scissors. You brought scissors? No, we don't have scissors. And then they look at my husband and say, yeah, we didn't dare to bring scissors because you said you will cut us. So you know what? So we had to take the scissors from the house to cut the umbilical cordon. So this is the level that my husband defends me.
Isn't that beautiful? And
yeah, actually, I thank to him that I ended, because otherwise I didn't even know about this the episiotomy and all these things. I didn't know. He was the one that got informed and that really defend me, and I thought, yeah, also this is very Mexican, you know, you don't go and really step and you say, oh no, oh, but it's a doctor, and we're more like shy. He didn't care. He said, I don't care. It's so important, your birth, and it only happens one time, and it will change, it will affect positively or negatively your whole life, that I'm just gonna speak it up, and I'm just gonna make sure they don't do the things that should not be there. I won't let doctors to come into your room. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was beautiful, and I think men should be. We think we have to prepare women to the labor, but I think men have also to be very much involved, and also we have to work a lot with the fears of the men, because I feel sometimes a woman can be very secure. For example, in the case of my pediatrician, she was pregnant when she attended my birth. She was 8 months and she loved it, and she said, yeah, I also wanted to have my birth at home. Sorry. And the husband didn't allow her and say, no, because they are both doctors. Say, no, I don't dare. And she ended into in a cesarean. A pediatrician that is so much involved in this so-called respectful birth and everything. And I felt that part of it was because the husband was very much afraid.
right. So first, you have an amazing husband. What a man.
Thank you.
What's his name? Tell.
France.
Okay, well, would you tell him that I much respect him?
He would love to hear that.
I appreciate that, because that is what a dad can do. That is his real role, to protect you from anything that you don't want. All right, not to make decisions for you. Now, the second story that you told about the pediatrician, that's going to be their family dynamic involved there. I mean, is this a woman who allows her husband to make decisions for her? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, you see what I'm saying? Yes, he was afraid, but what we're also seeing is that women are saying, well, that's all right. You can be afraid. You can have your fears, but I'm going to go ahead and show you that you don't need to be afraid, because I know what I'm doing. Come with me, though. Be with me. Support me, and you'll see. We'll be fine. I will help you with your fears, because, you know, it can go both ways for anyone. You know, some women can be very confident or fearful. Some men can be very confident or fearful.
Mm.
And this is part of becoming a family, how you work out those dynamics when fear strikes, okay? How do you, as a couple,
That's
handle
so true.
fear or differences of opinion or things like that? You see, that's going to be part of your marriage. So,
Totally.
yeah.
And I think birth is just, well, maybe the wedding means the first time where you really see the difference,
Okay.
and then birth. Wow, it's beautiful. It's true.
It's big.
And then in this case, how you prepare? Well, I know you prepare more midwives, but how you tell them to prepare woman in because yeah, I think we don't know what we really walk into in birth, and something unknown, and I think that's the best way to see it, as unknown, because if we expect something, then it will be screw. And I think that's also a big thing, that we start saying, I want it natural and in water, and so many things, that then we are too much in our desires and our expectations, and then that's disappointing if things don't go exactly. But how do you uh, teach your students to prepare women?
Mhm. Well, first of all, we 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 use a certain language to let a woman know that this is a rite of passage. And many women might say, well, what is that? You know, a rite of passage. But I think we have some idea that when you embark on a rite of passage, you're always going into the unknown. There's nothing wrong with going into the unknown. In fact, a rite of passage is going to put you outside your comfort zone. Why? Because that's where the transformation is. All right. And you don't want to end your pregnancy and birth the same person you were when you started. Okay. You want to have gained some insight and experience and used your intuition and become more knowing. So it's okay to walk into the unknown. What isn't okay is if a woman feels like she will be abandoned in the unknown. And that's why I had said to you earlier, I knew that my husband and my midwife would never abandon me. They would never leave me. They would always have my back as I walked in the unknown. All right. So first, embrace the unknown. It's part of your rite of passage. As a mother, be present to what's happening. Be present to what's happening now rather than what you read in a book, or what your expectation is, or what your sister had, or what your best friend who just gave birth told you. Be in your own now. And so, can you be prepared? Okay. Can you teach someone how to breathe tomorrow? Not really. The best thing is to say, I have your back. You're going through a rite of passage. You're outside your comfort zone. I understand that. I'm not going to try to change that. Now, just be present to what happens. That's the preparation, I say. Let go of anything else. Because if there is something that occurs to you in your birth, just ask me and I will provide that. Okay? Just ask me. I'm here to provide that. So I find that, well, here's a story. Once a good friend of mine who's a midwife, she said to me one day, Whapio, I'm working with Elizabeth and she will not read a single book. And she will not, I bring her books, I give her a reading list, she will not read them. When I ask her about why she isn't reading the books, she just looks out the window. How is she going to know how to give birth? And I said, well, do you really believe that? Do you really believe that someone has to read all these books to know how to give birth? Well, how else will she know? I said, she'll just know. Do you trust that a woman will know how to how to navigate her labor. Well, 3 weeks later, the midwife called me and said, oh, Whapio, she had the most amazing birth. She knew everything, and she didn't even read a book. Okay? So when we talk about being prepared, I think simple is best. Okay? I really do. I think just be present to what is happening and make sure you bring the right people with you, the people who are invested in you, and you got it made.
What you said, it just clicked on me because I didn't have time to read. I was so busy that I just didn't have time to get into my pregnancy. I said, it's something that is happening and I'm connected, but I don't need to read because it's not something that is happening there, it's happening here. The only thing I read about the labor was your text. That's the only thing. And I think, as you said, keep it simple. I think that was saved me, that I didn't know how too much information. I just went like a virgin to my birth, just letting me go, and I just flow with it. And then I had a out of this world experience. But I think my gift that was that I just didn't know. I didn't read, and I decided not to read all these terror stories. The only stories I knew about birth was my mom's ones, that they were terrible, and I said that was her story, it's not me. So I cleaned that from me and I just let it be. So yeah, sometimes I also said, don't read too much, don't get overwhelmed, because then you stay in your mind and in what you read, and then you just don't feel yourself.
And that is one of the saddest things to see, is when a woman gets trapped.
My husband is here. I will just introduce to you because I told her the story. She is Whapio.
What?
Her how can I say your holistic name?
My name is Whapio.
Whapio.
Hello. Nice to meet you, Frans.
Same here, Frans.
She is a woman that wrote The Holistic Stage of Birth, a text I read. And I wanted to contact her to say how important her text was for me. But I also tell her the story that you defend me for my birth, and actually I end up having a natural and home birth because you defend me against all these doctors.
Okay. But you did it.
So she just said that I had a fantastic husband, so I wanted to introduce you to her.
Thanks.
Much respect, Frans.
We can only facilitate. You did it.
But how was the experience for you to be
amazing? I was very impressed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I've seen both methods, the classic one, and then with Renee, my second wife, and it was amazing.
Well, I'm very impressed about with how much you really spoke up for your wife. I feel like that is exemplary for men. I wish more men would do that, and I think they would if they knew that they were allowed to do that. Okay, some people think that they can't do that, that would not be very civilized, or that they would be assertive or aggressive. But to see a man do that, to me, much respect.
For me, it was not so difficult.
Because
I didn't really care if they thought it was aggressive or not.
Yay!
That was not on top of my priorities.
You are a lucky woman.
And well, he didn't know about you. I haven't told him all the stories that I'm doing. He knows a bit. Yeah, he knows. But you will see him also in the videos. He also transformed himself when give him birth. I think sometimes as Dutch, he can be very rational. But I think when a man, even a very rational man, sees a woman giving birth in the instant, I think they also transform.
Yes, and I feel every man has instincts to what is happening in this labor. Who knows you better than anyone? This man, right? So they're going to have instincts about what you want in your labor, or what you need, or how someone can really protect you or facilitate you. Okay, as you said, Franz, facilitating your partner is what we're doing. So that stands as a beacon to men everywhere, that you took it upon yourself to assert yourself for the good of your wife and family. We need more of this on the planet.
Yeah, it's very difficult for most people. Don't dare to go into common beliefs and to make a choice and to take a risk. But how to explain? I think in some things I'm so certain that I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm so certain that the other ones, they're really wrong. I don't even care to explain. And then I will take the risk, and I will, yeah. And I did it not only with medical, but also with other things.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly it works out.
Yeah.
That's also something to do with knowledge, with education, with, we both studied, having a critical mind, not taking everything for granted. You need an independent brain to go against or to make your own choices. Most people just follow choices.
Yes, I hear that. And see, Renee, this comes back to the knowing. The whole idea of knowing what Franz is saying. I wasn't thinking it. I wasn't feeling it. I know when things are wrong. And that's part of my experience. It's part of gathering information, but it crystallizes in a knowing. And when you know something, you cannot be persuaded otherwise, ever, when you know something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for women it's very hard to realize they know.
Yes.
They're used to it. It's the other, even the husband. In my case, he was the one that know until I said, no, I also know that this, I'm feeling this, that this is right.
Yes. Yes. And what a beautiful, what a beautiful evolution we're talking about here. You see, when we can bring to bear the instinctual knowings that we have, okay, that are really the deepest parts of our soul. I mean, I don't want to get crazy here, but it's about being able to have a mind and a heart and a soul as well, and to put all of those together, thinking and feeling and knowing. Put them together, and we see the maturation and the evolution of a human being. To me, it goes that deep.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I said, when I hear your words, I think if I wouldn't have gave birth that way, that wouldn't resonate with me, you know. And that's why I think what you do is, it's in a way, well, as you just said, it will only resonate with certain people that are in this level of connection. I also said not everybody can understand this. For us in Mexico, they say us as crazy, that the decision we took, but yeah,
flower power hippies.
Yeah, they see it as a flower power, exactly, and I think it goes much more beyond that.
Oh, it does, because everything in that realm is undergirded by physiology. Okay, and that's what I teach doulas and midwives, how the physiology underneath it all is what makes it real and a reality. You know, it's just like when you first have a baby and you just birth your baby, many times the baby just that you put the baby down, all right, and all this kind of stuff is happening while a mother comes back from her return. Okay, meaning you can't see it, but in those very first moments after birth, the baby is getting physiologically 1/3 more of their blood. The baby is transforming from fetal circulation to neonatal circulation. You can't see any of these things. You just know to be gentle and soft and let your baby just stay there until you're ready to pick them up. You see what I mean? It's all undergirded. All the psychology is undergirded by the physiology. Otherwise, it's not real. Okay? It's not real for me because I'm not a flower child. Okay.
Thank you. I will finish.
Okay.
Thank you, baby.
It was nice meeting you.
Showing up. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Let me put this again. He bumped into the interview without knowing. I will take him.
It was beautiful.
It's good, and then I will talk much more. I think he also read your text, and I will show him. Even I haven't shown him the video I did because I just did it, and I was like, it's so beautiful. But yeah, and then this is something now I'm starting this journey, so I'm like getting my forces and this that I know, and I'm not opening everything now to everybody, even to my husband. I'm it's a new journey. I was a businesswoman, so transforming to this businesswoman and to this new, I don't know how to say it. It's a process also for me, which I'm loving it because I'm finding really my mission. I still don't know. I don't know if I will really be a midwife. I feel now I can be just an inspiration and put the words out there, as you said, just because when I talk to you, you make it so simple of what birth is: presence, knowing, understood, being understood, no, I can't pronounce it. So I want to change to this, to simple words instead of pain,
Anxiety,
complications, anxiety, not knowing, feeling, because we women, we think we don't know, and that's the biggest thing. I'm really, really very, very happy to talk to you. I also love the way I have seen you in videos, and I love the way how you I think when you talk with other people about birth, they make it complicated. But you are so authentic, so powerful. It's beautiful. I really love your energy. Really, you have a. And it was so funny that the day I said, I need to contact her. I will just ask her for an interview because, I see you like, wow, she's like, I don't know. I saw you like far away, I read your book and I saw you in some videos that I said, well, maybe I can just interview her and also explain to her how powerful her text was for me. I don't know if you call it text or your narration. And then I found out that you were going to Mexico. And I said, wow, this is so connected. And to the place where I only have the first birth I've ever seen was in San Cristobal de las Casas in that museum. So I said, wow, it's just connected, that exactly when I wanted to contact you, you were traveling to Mexico, to San Cristobal de las Casas. And I'm impressed that an American woman is going to Mexico to teach back what Mexico knew, and all this beautiful wisdom that we had, that we just also let it die. And because I know midwives used to come, American midwives used to come to Mexico to learn about all this wisdom. And now it's the other way around. American, you have to go back and teach back to Mexico what we should know.
I hear exactly what you're saying. I do, and I'm honored that I'm accepted in Mexico. Because I go every year. And there are, I find that there are women in Mexico who really want to bring this ancient wisdom into modern practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel that is one of the few things that I've been able to accomplish, to keep the wisdom, yet practice in a modern setting. You see? And I see that's what the women of Mexico want too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's impressive that Mexico, 1 out of 2 kids are born in cesárea when we had all that wisdom. It's just unbelievable. and
Yeah.
and the last thing well, in saying in where I live, now I'm in the border with Holland, and in Holland they had home births, but I think they do it more in the pragmatic way. They just do it because it's cheaper, not even because it's better for the woman, but really because medical wise it's cheaper. And I feel they're just missing all this holistic part, all this connection, because women are not, some are having beautiful experience, but they are not having birds because home birds because it might be beautiful. So have you ever been already in Europe giving your courses?
No, but I am planning to come to France in May of next year. So that's closer.
Okay. Yeah, France is also opening up. They have also both systems. Ah, fantastic. Because I also want to offer you it for you. I know you're super busy and you have a lot of programs, but I think Holland might receive you because you already have here the setting of being that home birth. It's something that it's accepted and that it's even in the medical system. So I think if you can bring your approach, your holistic approach to midwives here, it will be so welcome. So
I agree with you. I do feel that birth is very practical and pragmatic in many arenas, okay? And what I'm trying to bring in is the consciousness of birth. That there's a whole other level of consciousness.
I love your words. You have so
And that's what I would like to spread across the world. And I think that's what maybe the midwives in Holland might want to hear, how to, not how to handle birth, but how to really facilitate the consciousness of what women are doing. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. So if whenever you want to come and raise this consciousness, I will be really, really happy to help you. Also, if you need anything for when you're coming to France, I also lived many years in France. I speak French. So whatever I can help you, even being your translator or whatever, please count on me and let me know where you go, because I would love to meet you in person.
I would do that.
Okay, right. But please, and if you want to meet, you're coming to France and you would like to take the opportunity to come also to Belgium and Holland, I will also be very much happy to help you to arrange a course or whatever you want. But
okay.
See what how you feel. I don't know how you work, but I think really your knowledge and the way you're, as you said, the way you just are just changing this mentality of and of caregivers, how caregivers need to be in the moment of birth. So I will be more than happy to help you to organize a European tour.
Okay.
Yes, I really can't, even if it's just one presentation, and I can, because there are a lot of midwives here, at least in Europe, midwifery is something that it's respected and it's legal, it's part of the system. It's not that common because women are not that aware, but it's something that exists. So you already have the platform, so it's just giving them a different approach and a different consciousness. So please count on that.
So when I finalize my plans for France, I will give you a heads up. I'll let you know when I'm coming, and we'll see what happens. Okay?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And well, the last thing I want to ask you is, I will send you the video. I will maybe the easiest, I will upload it privately in YouTube, so you can easily see it. And then if you agree, if you let me share that video of my birth with your narration. Can I say narration? Is that right?
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
And also, if you let me, and I'm doing this. It's called actually also holistic holistic pregnancy. I'm doing an e-course with actually with my doula in Mexico, the one that prepared me and that helped me to get into this beautiful birth also. So we are doing, and we are also trying not to give too much information to women, but to make them empower themselves and believe in themselves and connect to themselves. We are doing it mainly with, she's a professional in Kundalini yoga. And it's a way that I found exactly to get to this consciousness and with this connection, because nobody can prepare you to give birth or how to be a mom, but you really need to learn how to be present. You already said it. So the Kundalini yoga is the same, and we're giving few information, but we want to simplify. We want to give information that for them it's like makes a click. And I think like this interview, so with you with so much knowledge, but putting in a so simple and yeah, simple words. It's beautiful. So if you allow me to share that with my students, now I only have 10 students because I'm just starting. But the idea is to make this course mainly in Latin America. We're doing it in Spanish. We will spread it in Latin America.
Wonderful. I feel very supportive of what you're doing. So I think we have a nice exchange. All right. Yes, I would love to see your video. I'd love to put it on my website. Okay.
Okay. Fantastic.
And we'll just send it out there. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic.
Yes, your birth might be an agency for change.
I hope so. That's as I said, even if they see me naked or whatever, I don't care, because it has a much bigger purpose of whatever of my intimacy, you know. If it can be of inspiration, then it's worth. Okay.
Thank you.
It was fantastic to talking to you. I really admire what you do, and I said I don't know why, I just felt you were like my spiritual guide, because really reading your text just before giving birth make me a connection like, oh, this is the beautiful journey I will go into. Wow, I really want to do it, you know.
That's so meaningful and affirming to me. Thank you so much. I love the way you are so easy to talk to. I'm so pleased that Franz made an appearance.
Yeah, he was too serious. He was a bit shocked, but okay. That's how Europeans are. With Latin Americans, we're more open. He was like, "Oh, what? I'm being already in video. What's this?" And okay, but I'm happy you saw him. And he met you.
It was good. Well, I can't wait to meet you in person. All right.
Fantastic. So let me know when you come here, and please count on me for whatever, from translation to really help you out to make a tour. I will really love to help you to spread your work, because it's really fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much for the time. I don't know even what time is it. Thank you so much for this interview, and we definitely keep in touch.
We will keep in touch. Much love to you.
To you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I will have to learn also now how to stop recording and to make sure that